I was sitting quietly at our kitchen table when Jessica dropped the bomb. Her face showed no emotion as she declared she wanted a divorce and would be taking the house we had built together. The coldness in her eyes shocked me more than her words. I listened as she confidently stated, "You can't afford a lawyer to fight me. You know I have connections." My response was simple, a quiet, "You're right." What she didn't know was that sometimes life has unexpected allies waiting in the wings. Before I continue this story, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that subscribe button and like this video if you've ever been underestimated. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. I'm a construction project manager, 34 years old, born and raised in Minnesota. My parents weren't wealthy, but they taught me the value of hard work and perseverance. I put myself through college with a combination of scholarships and part-time jobs, often working nights and weekends, while my classmates enjoyed the full college experience. After graduation, I worked my way up in the construction industry, eventually landing a solid position, managing residential development projects for a reputable company. I met Jessica at a mutual friend's housewarming party. She was standing by the window commenting on the construction quality of the new development. I overheard and joined the conversation, impressed by her knowledge. She worked in marketing for a high-end real estate firm, giving her an eye for property value and design trends. Her laugh was infectious, and she seemed genuinely interested in my work stories. We exchanged numbers that night, and I called her the next day, breaking my usual 3-day rule. There was something about her that drew me in: her ambition, her sharp wit, and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams for the future. Our first date lasted 5 hours conversation, flowing effortlessly from work to family to life goals. We dated for 8 months before I proposed. It wasn't an impulsive decision. I had never been more certain about anything. I took her to Maple Ridge Lookout, a spot with breathtaking views of the valley below. I'd spent weeks planning the perfect proposal, even hiking up there twice to find the ideal location. When she said yes, tears in her eyes, I felt like the luckiest man alive. We were married 3 years ago in a small but elegant ceremony with just close friends and family. The honeymoon in Cabo San Lucas was perfect. 7 days of sun sand and making plans for our future together. We moved into a modest starter home in a decent neighborhood, with plans to upgrade once we had built more equity and savings. Our first year of marriage was everything I had hoped for. We spent weekends tackling small renovation projects together, transforming our starter house into a home. Jessica had an eye for design while I handled the construction aspects. We talked about having children in a year or two once we were more established. I received a promotion at work, which came with a welcome salary increase. We started saving aggressively for our dream house, setting aside a substantial portion of each paycheck for our future. The first signs of trouble were subtle, so subtle I almost missed them. Jessica began spending more time with new friends from work, wealthy women with expensive tastes. She started making comments about our modest lifestyle, comparing our home to her colleagues' larger houses. When I would get excited about a promotion, she'd ask how much more I would be making, rather than celebrating the achievement itself. There were subtle comparisons to her friends, husbands, executives, and business owners who earned significantly more than I did. I found myself working longer hours, taking on additional projects, hoping to accelerate my income growth to make her happy. The financial dynamics of our relationship shifted gradually. Jessica suggested she should handle our household finances, citing her expertise in budgeting from her marketing role. I agreed, trusting her completely. We maintained joint accounts, pooling our resources. But I noticed her personal spending, increasing designer clothes, expensive lunches, high-end beauty treatments. When I gently questioned a $3,000 credit card statement, she became defensive, accusing me of monitoring her. Later, I discovered she'd been hiding additional credit card debt, over $15,000, that she'd accumulated without my knowledge. Our arguments about financial priorities became more frequent and heated, with Jessica insisting that looking successful was necessary for her career advancement. Jessica's obsession with social status became increasingly apparent. She fixated on appearances, constantly comparing our lifestyle to her colleagues. When she started pressuring me to move to Lakeside Heights, an upscale neighborhood far beyond our budget, I initially resisted. But after weeks of tension and cold shoulders, I reluctantly agreed to look at properties there. We ended up purchasing a house that stretched our finances to the breaking point. To afford the mortgage, I took a second job, consulting on weekend projects. Meanwhile, Jessica embarked on a series of home renovations, insisting on designer furniture and high-end appliances that we couldn't comfortably afford. As I worked more hours to support our lifestyle, we naturally spent less time together. Jessica began having frequent girls' nights and business trips. Our once vibrant, intimate life became practically non-existent. When I tried to talk about the growing distance between us, Shed dismissed my concerns, saying I was being insecure. My attempts to reconnect, through date nights or weekend getaways, were met with excuses about work commitments or social obligations. I felt increasingly alone in our marriage, living in a beautiful house that felt less and less like a home. I remember the exact moment everything changed. I had come home early from work, a rare occurrence given my schedule. As I quietly entered through the garage, I heard Jessica on the phone in our home office. She was laughing, the kind of genuine laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. What froze me in place were her words. Yes, he'll get everything in the divorce. The house, half his retirement, everything. Hess too nice to fight me on it. I stood there, blood rushing in my ears, unable to move or think clearly. When I finally pushed open the office door, she looked up startled. The phone conversation ended abruptly, but there was no point pretending I hadn't heard. The confrontation that followed was surreal. After a moment of panic, Jessica composed herself and coldly admitted that yes, she wanted out of our marriage. She had been planning to tell me for weeks, but was getting her ducks in a row first. She delivered a calculated speech about growing apart and wanting different things. Then came the ultimatum. She wanted the house and half my retirement savings, non-negotiable. The words she spoke next are forever burned into my memory. You can't afford a lawyer to fight me. My firm has connections with the best divorce attorneys in the city. You'll lose everything if you try. I looked at her, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and quietly replied, "You're right." She seemed satisfied with my apparent surrender, not recognizing the subtle shift in my expression. The emotional aftermath was brutal. I moved into the spare bedroom that night, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, questioning every moment of our relationship. Had any of it been real? When had she stopped loving me? Or had she ever truly loved me at all? Depression and anxiety became my constant companions. I lost weight, my clothes hanging loosely on my frame. Despite the emotional turmoil, I continued working both jobs out of necessity, going through the motions like a robot. Friends at work noticed my withdrawn behavior, but I deflected their concerns. This pain was too raw, too personal to share. It was 2 weeks after that confrontation when I discovered the full extent of the betrayal. Jessica had left her tablet at home while at a meeting. A notification chimed and I glanced over instinctively. What I saw shattered any lingering illusions. It was a message from her boss, "David, missing you already. Last night was amazing." The password to her tablet was our anniversary date, an irony that wasn't lost on me. With shaking hands, I found evidence of a year-long affair with David. Photos of them together on supposed business trips. Hotel receipts charged to our joint credit card. Weekend getaways disguised as work conferences. The affair had started shortly after we purchased the new house, around the time Jessica had become increasingly critical and distant. The financial betrayal ran just as deep as the emotional one. With my suspicions now fully aroused, I began investigating our financial records. I discovered money had been systematically transferred from our joint savings to a private account I knew nothing about. Over $40,000 of our shared savings gone. On her laptop left open one evening, I found emails showing Shed consulted with a divorce attorney 3 months earlier. There were also searches about prenuptial agreements and marital property laws in our state. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Shed had been planning her exit strategy for months, all while sleeping beside me each night and making plans for our future. In a last desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage, I suggested marriage counseling. Jessica laughed dismissively, saying it was far too late for that. I arranged a dinner at our once favorite restaurant, hoping to reconnect with the woman I had fallen in love with. Over an uncomfortable meal, she informed me Shed outgrown me. Her career was taking off and she needed someone who could match her ambition and lifestyle expectations. I sat across from her, finally accepting that my marriage was irretrievably over. The hostility escalated quickly after that night. Jessica's friends, people who had dined in our home and hugged me at gatherings, suddenly became cold and distant. I later learned Shed had been spreading rumors about me being controlling and emotionally unavailable. These rumors somehow reached my workplace, with colleagues giving me strange looks or asking if everything was okay at home. Jessica became increasingly aggressive about the divorce terms, threatening to make things difficult if I didn't agree to her demands. One night after working late, I returned to find the locks changed. My belongings had been packed haphazardly and left in the garage, a clear message that the house was no longer my home. The final indignity came when I was served divorce papers at my job site. The process server approached me in front of my crew and clients, handing me the envelope with a smug expression that suggested he knew exactly how humiliating this moment was. My hands trembled as I opened the documents later that day. The filing was aggressive, with claims of emotional abandonment and financial irresponsibility. Jessica was asking for the house, half my retirement funds, and alimony despite earning more than me. The court date was set for the following month, leaving me little time to prepare a defense. That night alone in my hastily rented apartment, I hit rock bottom. Growing up, my older brother Marcus had always been my protector and guide. 4 years my senior, he stood up to neighborhood bullies who targeted me for being smaller than other kids. After our father died when I was 10, Marcus stepped up even more. He was only 14 but took odd jobs to help our mom make ends meet. When I was struggling with math in high school, he would stay up late helping me despite his own heavy course load. Marcus worked through college to help pay for my education, insisting I focus on my studies rather than taking a job. We had different interests and talents. I was good with my hands and practical projects, while Marcus had a brilliant analytical mind and a natural gift for debate. Our paths diverged significantly after high school. Marcus moved across the country for law school, earning a prestigious scholarship. Our communication became less frequent as adult responsibilities took over. Calls became texts. Texts became occasional emails and social media likes. The last time I'd seen him in person was at our mother's funeral 2 years ago. We had promised to stay in better touch, but life got in the way. My pride also prevented me from reaching out during my marital problems. I didn't want my successful brother seeing me fail so spectacularly. I had no idea what his career looked like now, other than knowing he had become an attorney of some kind in the city. The night after being served divorce papers, I reached my breaking point. Sitting in my bare apartment surrounded by hastily packed boxes, I found myself scrolling through my contacts until I reached Marcus' name. It was nearly midnight, but desperation overrode consideration. When he answered, sounding alert despite the hour, the emotions I had been suppressing broke free. I struggled to explain my situation through tears, the words coming in broken sentences. I was ashamed of my vulnerability, but too exhausted to maintain the facade any longer. Marcus listened quietly, asking occasional questions to clarify details. When I finally fell silent, his response was immediate and firm. On the next flight out. Don't do anything or sign anything until I get there. Marcus arrived the following afternoon. The moment I saw him walking through the airport terminal, professional in his tailored suit, but with the same kind eyes, I remembered something broke inside me. We embraced for a long moment, neither speaking. "It's been too long, little brother," he finally said, studying my face. "You look terrible." This small moment of normalcy, of brotherly teasing, was the first time I'd smiled in weeks. We spent the drive catching up on lost years, carefully avoiding the immediate crisis, until we reached my apartment. It was then that Marcus revealed what he'd been doing since we last saw each other. Not only had he become an attorney, but had specialized in divorce law and built a reputation as one of the most successful high-asset divorce attorneys in the city. The cruel irony wasn't lost on either of us. I had a brother who was exactly the kind of lawyer I needed, yet had been too proud to reach out. When I finished telling Marcus the full story, showing him the divorce papers and evidence, I'd gathered his expression, darkened with anger. "That's not just a bad divorce, Austin. That's methodical, emotional, and financial abuse," he said, using legal terminology that somehow validated the pain I'd been feeling. Marcus immediately promised to represent me, brushing aside my concerns about payment. "This one's on the house, little brother." "Actually, it's about the house, among other things," he added with a grim smile. His professional assessment was sobering, but also oddly comforting. It would be a difficult battle, but one he was confident we could win together. For the first time since Jessica's announcement, I felt a spark of hope. Over the next few days, we developed a comprehensive strategy. We met in Marcus' hotel suite, converting the dining area into an impromptu war room. He created a detailed timeline of my marriage marking key events, financial decisions, and the points where Jessica's behavior had changed. We documented every financial discrepancy from the hidden transfers to the concealed credit card debt. Marcus helped me prepare a counterfiling with evidence of the affair which could impact the division of assets in our no-fault state, given the financial component of the deception. We prepared for various scenarios, including the possibility of Jessica dropping her more aggressive claims once she realized she was outmatched. Evidence gathering became our primary focus. We collected bank statements, credit card bills, and investment account documents that showed my consistent contributions to our household and the irregular withdrawals Jessica had made. I provided Marcus with the photos and messages, proving the affair, which he assured me would be valuable leverage. Several friends who had witnessed Jessica's increasingly materialistic behavior and her coldness toward me provided written statements. We hired a property appraiser to assess the true value of our home, accounting for the renovations that had been paid for with my second job income. Marcus even brought in a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering hidden assets in divorce cases. Throughout this intense preparation period, something unexpected happened. Marcus and I reconnected on a deeper level. Our strategy sessions often evolved into conversations about our lives, our memories, and our regrets about losing touch. I began to regain my confidence, no longer seeing myself as the failure Jessica had made me feel I was. The anger and betrayal were still there, but Marcus helped me process these emotions in a constructive way. He shared wisdom gained from similar cases, preparing me emotionally for the confrontation to come. When it was time for you to stand up for yourself, you called the right person, he told me one evening. Now let's make sure Jessica regrets underestimating you. On the morning of the court date, my stomach was tied in knots. Marcus and I had agreed he would arrive separately for maximum impact. I entered the courthouse alone, feeling naked and exposed in my best suit, which suddenly seemed inadequate in these formal surroundings. In the hallway outside the courtroom, I spotted Jessica with her attorney, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. Jessica's expression when she saw me was one of smug satisfaction. She leaned toward her lawyer, whispering something that made them both smile. As we filed into the courtroom, I sat quietly at the defendant's table, arranging my notes as Marcus had instructed me to do. Jessica sauntered over before taking her seat. "Still think you made the right choice not settling," she whispered. "I hope you enjoy your new apartment because after today that's all you'll have left." The dramatic moment I had been waiting for arrived perfectly timed. Just as the judge entered, and the bailiff called for all to rise, the courtroom door opened. Marcus walked in confidently, his presence commanding immediate attention. He strode directly to my table, setting down his leather briefcase. The look on Jessica's face was worth every painful moment of the past months. Her eyes widened, mouth slightly open, all color draining from her face. Her attorney clearly recognized Marcus, her professional composure slipping momentarily. "Your Honor, Marcus Miller, appearing as counsel for the respondent." "Austin Miller, my brother," said his voice resonant in the suddenly silent courtroom. He looked directly at Jessica as he emphasized his older brother. The whispered, "Oh my God," from Jessica was audible in the quiet room. The judge, maintaining neutrality, simply nodded and proceeded with the hearing, but the power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. The legal proceedings that followed were a masterclass in professional devastation. Marcus presented evidence of the affair, methodically connecting it directly to financial misconduct. He showed the court how Jessica had used our joint funds to finance her relationship with David, presenting hotel receipts and gift purchases. He revealed the systematic transfer of our savings to her private account, characterizing it as premeditated financial deception. Jessica's attorney attempted to defend her client, suggesting the marriage had been troubled for years and that Jessica had merely been protecting her financial future. But each argument was skillfully countered by Marcus with documentation and testimony. When Marcus presented evidence that Jessica had consulted divorce attorneys, while simultaneously encouraging me to invest more in our home renovations, the judge's expression hardened visibly. It was the turning point in the case, a moment when everyone in the courtroom understood that this wasn't just an unfortunate failed marriage, but a calculated deception. The judge's ruling exceeded even my most optimistic hopes. Not only was Jessica's claim for the house dismissed, but the judge ordered that I would retain primary ownership with a significantly reduced buyout provision to Jessica, accounting for my disproportionate financial contributions. My retirement accounts remain protected, with Jessica entitled only to the portion truly accrued during our marriage, minus the amounts she had secretly diverted. Her claims for alimony were completely dismissed, given her higher earning capacity and the evidence of financial misconduct. Most satisfying was the judge's closing statement, which acknowledged the clear pattern of deception and explicitly rejected the characterization of me as financially irresponsible. As the ruling concluded, Jessica sat motionless, her carefully constructed plans dismantled in a single morning. In the hallway afterward, Jessica attempted one last manipulation. She approached me when Marcus stepped away briefly, her eyes now brimming with tears that had been notably absent throughout our marital struggles. "Austin, please." She began, her voice soft and reminiscent of our early days together. "We can work this out between us without the lawyers." Her hand reached for mine, but I gently stepped back. "The woman I love doesn't exist anymore, if she ever did," I said quietly. "Let's just follow the judge's orders and move forward separately." I walked away, joining Marcus by the elevator, feeling the weight of the past months finally beginning to lift. That night, for the first time since Jessica had announced her desire for a divorce, I slept peacefully, without waking to anxiety in the early hours. Despite our legal victory, I chose not to keep the house that had become a symbol of so much pain. Marcus helped me negotiate a fair sale, and the proceeds were divided, according to the court's ruling. I found a comfortable new home in a different neighborhood, one without the pretension of Lakeside Heights, but with a genuine sense of community I had missed. The regular calls with Marcus continued our relationship stronger than it had been since childhood. We made plans for holidays together and a fishing trip to Minnesota, reconnecting with our roots. I rebuilt my friendship circle, reconnecting with people I had drifted away from during my marriage, and making new connections through community activities that Jessica would have considered beneath her social standing. Through this painful experience, I learned to recognize the warning signs I had missed. The gradual isolation from friends and family. The constant criticism masked as helpful suggestions. The moving goalposts of what would make her happy. I developed a new perspective on relationships and trust. Not cynical, but certainly more discerning. I approached dating again with cautious optimism, valuing authenticity and shared values over status and appearances. Most importantly, I found a deeper appreciation for family bonds that transcend time and distance. Marcus and I speak weekly now, our brotherhood stronger than ever. When he recently mentioned considering a move to be closer to me, I realized how much our reconnection had meant to him too. Family isn't just about sharing blood. It's about showing up when it matters most. Has someone in your family ever surprised you with their support during a difficult time? Share your story in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of triumph over life's challenges. Share this with someone who might need to be reminded that sometimes help comes from unexpected places. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not about how expensive your lawyer is, but who has your back when everything is on the line.